I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I need to get something off my chest that's been spiraling out of control for weeks. I'm questioning whether I'm overreacting or if my family has completely lost it. For background, I've lived in my current apartment for 3 years. It's a fantastic place. 2 bedrooms, sleek kitchen, in-unit washer-dryer, and best of all, it's rent-controlled in a city where housing prices are through the roof. I've never missed a rent payment. I keep the place spotless. And my landlord, George, in his early 60s, has repeatedly said I'm his top tenant. My brother Michael, 31, got married 2 years ago to Jennifer, 28, and they welcomed their first child 6 months ago. They're squeezed into a tiny one-bedroom across town, and naturally, they're on the hunt for more space. Things took a strange turn last month during a family dinner when Michael casually remarked how ideal my apartment would be for his growing family. I chuckled, thinking it was just small talk, and said, "Yeah, it's a great spot." But then he started probing. When does my lease renew? How much is my rent exactly? Any issues with the landlord? Alarm bells started ringing. 2 weeks ago, he dropped a bombshell. "You know, James, I've been thinking, that apartment's really better suited for a family. You're single, always out, traveling for work. Wouldn't it be more logical for someone with roots to live there?" I nearly choked on my drink. Roots. I've been a model tenant for 3 years. That's when my parents chimed in. Mom said, "Well, Michael's got a point. You're out a lot," Dad added. "They need room for the baby. You could find a smaller place, maybe a studio." Let me set the record straight about my so-called lifestyle, since it's apparently up for family debate. Yes, I'm single. Yes, I go out maybe twice a week, dinner with friends or a work event. I'm in tech consulting, so I travel about once a month for a few days. No noise complaints, no wild parties, and I'm friendly with most of my neighbors. Yet, according to the story Michael's been spinning to our parents, I'm some reckless party guy who can't be trusted with a family-sized apartment. He even said, single guys in their late 20s aren't what landlords want for long-term leases. They prefer stable, married couples with kids, not someone who might jet off to Asia or move in with a new girlfriend. The girlfriend jab. I haven't been in a serious relationship for over a year because I've been grinding for a promotion, which I got, by the way, but apparently that doesn't count as stable. His Asia comment. I took a 2-week trip to Spain last year, fully planned and paid for with my PTO. I told them flat out I'm not giving up my place, and I thought that was the end of it. Wrong. Yesterday, Michael texted me. "Hey, just a heads up, I reached out to your landlord to introduce myself. Thought it'd be good for him to know there's family interest if you ever move. No pressure." No pressure. He went behind my back to MY landlord. I called George immediately, and thankfully he was puzzled but professional. He said, "Your brother called claiming you might be moving soon. I told him you hadn't mentioned anything like that." I reassured George I'm staying put, but now I'm on edge. My parents have been sending me articles about the perks of downsizing and why young professionals love tiny apartments. Mom even forwarded me studio listings, saying, "Just browsing and thought of you." Am I wrong to be this pissed? I'm not hogging space. I use both bedrooms. One's my office since I work from home a couple of days a week. I pay rent on time, I'm a great tenant, and I secured this place fair and square. But somehow, being single and occasionally social means I don't deserve decent housing. The worst part is their framing. It's not Michael needs help finding a place, which I'd get. It's James doesn't deserve his apartment because he's not married with kids. They're trying to reallocate my home based on my relationship status. I'm beyond frustrated. This was supposed to be a normal family dinner, and now I'm dealing with a bizarre housing takeover attempt orchestrated by my own brother. I wish I could say things calmed down, but they've only gotten crazier. After my last post, I thought setting clear boundaries would settle it. I had a stern talk with Michael, telling him to drop it, and made it clear to my parents that my home wasn't up for debate. They seemed to get it, though grudgingly. Then last Tuesday happened. I was working from home when I heard voices in the hallway, George's and Michael's. My brother was in my building with my landlord. I opened my door to catch Michael mid-sentence, saying, "With a baby, we'd really value the peaceful vibe of this floor." George looked uneasy when he saw me. "Oh, James, your brother was just in the area," Michael grinned. "Hey, James. I was just dropping off some documents at an office nearby and bumped into George in the parking lot." "Office? There's no office nearby, it's all residential." I asked to speak with George privately, and we stepped into my apartment while Michael waited outside. George apologized immediately, explaining that Michael had been pushy about checking out the apartment for future reference, claiming I'd asked him to stop by about maintenance issues. I showed George my phone, no texts or calls to Michael about maintenance. Nothing. George then dropped a bombshell. Michael had asked about lease transfer rules and whether family members get priority for tenancy. After George left, assuring me he wasn't entertaining Michael's requests, I confronted my brother in the hallway. The exchange went like this, me. "What are you doing?" Michael, "Chill, I'm just getting info. It's smart to know what's out there." Me, "What's out there? This is MY home." Michael, "Come on, James, you know this makes sense, you're hardly here." Me, "I work from home 2 days a week." Michael, "When you're not jetting off or hitting bars?" Me, "I travel once a month for work and dinner with friends isn't hitting bars." Stop twisting my life. Then he revealed his true mindset. "Look, Mom and Dad agree with me. You're pushing 30, still single, still renting. I've got a family, I'm building something lasting. This apartment would be an investment for us, not just a single guy's crash pad." Crash pad. My tastefully decorated, well-kept apartment is a crash pad because I'm not married. I told him to leave and not come back. He shrugged and said, "We'll see what Mom and Dad think." Sure enough, that night my parents called. They were disappointed in my selfishness and couldn't understand why I was making things hard for family. Mom said, "Michael's just trying to provide for his kid. You should be supportive, not possessive." I pointed out that supporting family doesn't mean surrendering my home. Dad's reply, "It's just an apartment, James. Michael's offering to take over the lease, not rob you. You could easily find something more fitting for your lifestyle." There it was again, my lifestyle, like I'm some irresponsible drifter instead of a successful professional who happens to be single. The manipulation has only intensified. Mom starts every call with updates about the baby, how cramped they are, how the baby can't sleep because of thin walls at their place. Jennifer's been posting on social media about making do in a small space and dreaming of a nursery. But here's the reality. I checked their current apartment complex. They pay $1,400 for their one-bedroom. My rent-controlled two-bedroom is $1,850. There are plenty of two-bedroom units around the city for $2,000, $2,500. They could afford to move elsewhere. They just want MY apartment because it's a steal. This isn't about the baby needing space. It's about them feeling entitled to my deal because they think I don't deserve it. I've started documenting everything, texts, emails, dates of Michael's visits to my building. I also warned George not to discuss my tenancy with anyone but me. He was supportive and even offered to write a letter confirming I'm an excellent tenant, just in case. I thought family was supposed to lift you up, not scheme to take your home because they disapprove of your life choices. Every time I think of Michael sneaking around my building, lying to my landlord, I'm livid all over again. The worst part, I was ready to help them find a place. I know the rental market and have work connections, but instead of asking for help, they tried to take what's mine. I'm dreading the holidays because this will dominate every conversation. I'm already getting texts about Thanksgiving, and I don't know if I can sit there pretending everything's fine. Update 2, 3 weeks later. The situation has spiraled into something I never could have predicted. I'm writing this from a hotel because I needed a breather after yesterday's chaos. After my last update, I went low contact with my family, skipping dinners and keeping calls short. I thought space would help them see reason. Instead, they used my silence to double down. It started subtly. 2 weeks ago, George called, sounding apologetic. "James, sorry to bother you, but someone claiming to be your dad keeps calling about lease policies and transfers. I haven't shared anything, but I wanted you to know." I thanked him and called Dad immediately. He didn't even deny it. "I'm just trying to understand the options. Michael says you're being stubborn, so I wanted to see what's possible." "Options for what, Dad? It's my apartment." "Don't be so dramatic, James. We're just looking into things." Then things got shadier. Last week, I came home to a notice on my door. Not an official one, but a printed form that looked legit at first glance. It was a tenant suitability questionnaire, asking about guests, noise, travel habits, and household size. It wasn't from management. I showed it to George, who was appalled. Security footage caught Michael sticking it on my door. When I confronted him, he admitted he'd found the template online, saying it might help me reflect on how my lifestyle doesn't suit the apartment. "You're trying to gaslight me with fake paperwork?" I asked. "It's not fake, it's a self-assessment tool," he insisted. "If you filled it out honestly, you'd see you're not using the place to its full potential." But yesterday was the final straw. I got home to find my parents' car in the visitor lot. In the lobby were my parents, Michael, Jennifer, and the baby, with George and a stranger. My gut sank. The stranger introduced himself as Richard, a real estate lawyer. My parents had brought a lawyer to my building. George looked uneasy and said, "James, I've told them repeatedly I'm not changing your tenancy." Richard, in a calm lawyer voice, said, "We're here to explore arrangements that could work for everyone. Your parents are willing to co-sign a lease for Michael, adding extra security." I lost it. "Get out, all of you, leave my building now." Mom started crying. "James, we're just trying to help. You're being so difficult over a simple apartment." "If it's so simple, why bring a lawyer?" I shot back. Dad went stern. "Son, think about the family. Your brother has a child. You have what? An extra room for an office. That's wasteful." Jennifer, quiet until now, added, "We just want what's best for everyone. The baby needs a stable home." She held my nephew like a prop, angling him for maximum pity. Michael piled on. "Mom and Dad are ready to co-sign. That shows we're serious. You could move back home for a bit, save money, maybe finally settle down." Move back home? I'm 29 with a six-figure job, and they want me back in my childhood bedroom so Michael can take my apartment. George finally stepped in. "Everyone except James needs to leave. This is inappropriate, and you're upsetting other tenants." Neighbors were peeking out, curious about the commotion. As they left, Richard handed me his card, saying, "If you want to discuss this calmly." I tossed it in the trash in front of him. My phone's been blowing up since. Mom texting about how I embarrassed them, Dad calling about family loyalty, Michael messaging about how I'm tearing the family apart over just a building. But here's what broke me. My cousin Sarah told me this was planned for months. At a family event I missed last summer, Michael was already talking about when he'd move into my apartment, not if. They've been scheming behind my back, deciding my life choices make me unworthy of stable housing. Sarah said Mom even suggested a smaller place might push me to get serious about dating. They're trying to control my entire life to fit their idea of what I should be. Single at 29 means immature. No kids means irresponsible. My success, happiness, and stability don't matter because it's not their version of adulthood. I've booked a meeting with my own lawyer next week to understand my rights and what counts as harassment. I'm also asking George for records of my stellar tenancy and my family's interference. I never thought I'd need legal protection from my own family, but here we are. They brought a lawyer to take my home. Every line has been crossed. The only upside? George has been amazing. He told me privately that even if I wanted to transfer the lease, he wouldn't rent to people who act like this. "Good tenants don't ambush landlords with lawyers," he said. "I'm in a hotel tonight to clear my head. Do I cut them off completely? Try one last talk. I love my family, but they're trying to destabilize me because they think being single means I don't deserve a home." Final update 2 months later. I never imagined I'd be writing this final chapter, but I need to wrap this up and share how gloriously this backfired on my family. After the lawyer incident, I went no contact for 2 weeks to focus and meet with my attorney, Patricia. She reviewed everything and said their behavior was harassment, but not yet illegal. She helped me draft a cease and desist letter sent to my parents and Michael, warning that further interference with my tenancy would lead to legal action. Their response? Predictable. Mom called sobbing, "How could you threaten your family with lawyers?" Dad emailed a long lecture about family duty. Michael sent a single text, "Really? Lawyers?" "Yes, Michael, really. You started with the lawyer." I stayed no contact through Thanksgiving, which sparked family drama. But here's where it gets wild. In early December, George called, sounding almost entertained. "James, you'll want to hear this. Your brother applied for a 3-bedroom unit in the building. Not yours, a new one listed at $3,200 a month, nearly double your rent." "Did he get it?" "Well," George said, "I ran his background check. His credit's shaky, and their current landlord reported multiple noise complaints and late rent payments." News to me. They never mentioned this on social media, only their need for space. George continued, "I rejected their application. Then your parents showed up offering to co-sign just like they tried with your place." But George was prepared. He documented their harassment, the lawyer stunt, everything. "I told them I don't rent to people who scheme against my tenants," he said. "I also said I'd share that documentation with other landlords if needed." My parents were livid but powerless. They'd exposed themselves. But it gets better or worse for them. In January, Michael called, frantic. Their current landlord issued a 60-day eviction notice after more noise complaints and late rent. With that on their record and George's rejection circulating, landlords talk, apparently they couldn't find a new place. "James, we need your help," Michael pleaded. "Can you talk to George or help us find something?" You know the market. The nerve. After everything, he wanted my help. You mean help from an immature single guy who's clearly not stable? I asked. I was just stressed about the baby, he backtracked. I didn't mean it. You meant it enough to hire a lawyer. The call ended with him angry and me unmoved. The past 2 weeks have been the wildest. My parents, desperate to save Michael, co-signed a lease for a 2-bedroom in a less desirable area, $2,800 a month, pricier than my place, with fewer amenities and a 45-minute commute for Michael's job compared to my 15-minute one. Here's the kicker. When Michael and Jennifer couldn't pay February's rent after moving costs drained them, my parents had to cover it. They're now tied to a lease they can barely afford for an apartment Michael's already complaining about. Yesterday, Mom texted, "James, we need to talk. Michael's apartment situation is getting tough. Your dad and I wondered if you'd help with costs just for now. Family supports family." The same family that tried to displace me now wants me to pay for their mess. The irony is unreal. I replied, "Sorry, but I need to prioritize my own housing stability. I'm sure you understand." The fallout. Michael and Jennifer are stuck in an overpriced apartment they dislike, and my parents are financially stretched from co-signing. They're banned from my building. George added them to the no-visit list. The extended family knows the story because I stopped staying silent. My aunt, Mom's sister, told my parents they deserved this for playing favorites and trying to rearrange my life. Even my grandmother, who I thought would back them, said, "Why should James give up his home? He earned it." As for me, I'm thriving. I got another promotion. Turns out being single let me focus on my career. I'm thinking about getting a dog since I've got all this space. George even gave me a small rent discount next year for handling this with class. I've learned something crucial. Family doesn't get to upend your life because they think they know better. Being single doesn't make me less worthy of stability. No kids doesn't mean I belong in a tiny studio. Sometimes the best response is living well while others face the consequences of their entitlement. My door's open for real reconciliation, but only if they own their actions. So far, all I get are complaints about their unfair situation and requests for cash. Funny how it's only unfair when it's their problem. To everyone who's supported me, thank you. To anyone facing similar family entitlement, hold firm. Your life choices are valid, and you deserve respect, single or not. And to my family, if you're reading this, I hope you've learned that trying to bully someone out of their home because you don't like their lifestyle is not just wrong. It can backfire spectacularly. I'm keeping my apartment. Yes, I'm still single. Yes, I still go out with friends sometimes, and somehow, despite these flaws, I'm the only one in the family not struggling with housing. Karma's real, isn't it?